2024 Eidelweiss Commissioners meeting to order at 9 a.m. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 And at 9:01, we'll take a look at approving minutes. The first one is 2:13. Do we have a motion on this? I have a couple of things on it, but I don't even know if I want to take time now or just a couple of words missing.
You go for it now. I don't think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
If it's this one or the other one. So I'll make a motion to get this discussion to approve the agenda.
No.
I mean, the minutes of
minutes.
2:13.
Yeah.
Need a second to open the discussion?
Second.
Nancy seconds. So, let's see. At item number 4, DPW report. It says Jeff discussed the patching of the, throughout the district.
Oh. Well,
Asphalt.
yeah.
Because
What's
later you
asphalt?
talk about roads and stones.
Yeah, we did potholes and.
Right, but the word's missing out of there. It's not a question of whether you did it. It
Right,
says
no, I understand.
Just but you just did patching throughout the district.
Right.
Yeah, so that
We
is.
patched some pavement with the patch and we did some potholes with some
Okay.
stone.
Jeff discussed the patching of the,
Road.
throughout the visit. It needs a word there.
Right.
Jeff discussed the asphalt patching throughout the
Right,
district.
that's it. No big deal, just needs a word.
Trying to come up with the right one.
I thought you started to think we were questioning what was.
No.
No.
I'm just trying to think of the right word for you.
Okay. It's like a game show.
Make
Hit
it
the
sound
buzzer.
sophisticated.
Hit the buzzer when you have a word.
Just want to make it clear.
Then the other thing I have is number 6 under administration reports. A. You catch up with me. The second to the last sentence in administrative reports A says, a price will be coming on the catch basin. And I think it should say a price will be coming on the contract vacuuming. Makes it look like we're buying a catch basin, we're contract vacuuming. And that's all I had.
Okay.
Any other comments?
No?
All in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Nancy's aye. 3-0. And now we'll move on to the minutes of 2:16. Do we have a motion to
Budget
approve
hearing.
these minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second. Any discussion on these? This was going through the warrant.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's Friday night.
If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
3-0. So at 9:04, we'll go to approvals of the manifests. And the first one is the Water Assessment Fund manifest for a total of $11,810.25. Do we hear a motion to approve this manifest?
I'll make a motion to approve that manifest.
I'll second. Discussion?
No, it looked okay.
Did this have, is this the one that had a check to CMA?
It did.
Yeah, CMA engineers for 524.
Do you recall, yeah, I looked at that invoice, do you have any memory of what they would have been charging us for 3 hours for in January?
I'm guessing it was the discussion of the proposal of the asset management.
Are you thinking the one that happened here?
No, we already paid for that.
So there was a discussion with them?
I think it was probably just, I've only sent a few emails regarding telling them that we didn't have a board, then we did have a board, and that the proposal was denied. Really is to the extent of my conversations with them, so
And that might have been 3 hours of their time?
possibly.
Wow.
possibly.
project engineer, total labor, 3 hours, says the bills are attached here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw it was three, all it says is 3 hours. It
On the
doesn't say 3
524.
hours for
I
what.
know, they don't
Didn't say for
itemize
what.
exactly what, or give an explanation. Yep.
Well, as soon as we take care of these kinds of invoices coming from them, better. I don't have anything else in this manifest.
Okay.
All in favor of approving the manifest?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. And at 9:06, we'll go to the operating account manifest for $14,319.13. Do I hear a motion to discuss that?
I'll make a motion to discuss it.
I'll second. Any comments on this? I sure wish the Napa invoices just weren't numbers, that we actually knew what was being purchased. I wish all the invoices told us what was actually being, I went down through that invoice. I don't know if you read Albany Service Center's invoices, but the text of it's fun to read.
At least they're describing what was done. You're saying when we purchase consumables, they're not itemizing what?
Well, I think she's passing it to me here, is that we're saying this. And I guess if we have a question, she can hand us these.
Oh, okay. But on the top, it's just SKU numbers, it's not a description of the
Right,
item.
the invoice itself is just the numbers that relate.
That's the monthly statement. The top sheet is the
Yeah.
statement.
So if we do want to see everything that was purchased, it would be
You have to
all these.
go deeper.
Fuel filters. Milwaukee tool. Wiper blades. Wire. Okay.
I see that in the manifest, the Napa Auto Parts, the top bill.
Right,
Yeah, but I don't see
not
that.
these.
Is
yeah.
that in there?
No.
I missed
No.
it?
I
Okay,
don't think we wanted to be having to run
Yeah.
these through the scanner.
okay.
There'd be a lot of them.
Well, now they come electronically. So starting in
Oh.
February, they all come to me as a PDF so I can just combine them.
Oh, nice.
So that will be easier. But before that, they came in these little slips.
Right.
So,
Any further discussion on this manifest?
No?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3-0. At 9:08, we have Simply Water.
Oh, it says
Morning,
DPW
Ian.
first.
Morning, guys.
Do I jump over to DPW?
You did.
Sorry. 9:08, yeah, DPW.
Okay.
Good morning.
Sorry, that was.
Morning. Morning, Jeff.
So I got a call I called HP Fairfield about that blower, and they get $150 an hour. So we bring that down there, and like I say, they get that thing put back together, and then we'll have to contact John Deere and have them kind of go through and set the blower to the flow and all that with the backhoe to get that working properly. So there's one price. I got a bunch of prices for you guys. Don't get mad at me. The stump grinder is $275 a day from Coleman's. If we get it for 4 days, we get the 5th day free. So if we get it for the week, you know, and again, that won't be probably till the fall when they get the trees down in the quadrant or however they marked off the district for those trees from Eversource. But so there's kind of an idea. We probably needed a week, maybe a few more days than that, but so that's something you guys can kind of get an idea at least for that. The York rake, we have to replace the tines on those. There's 50 tines. We usually get a couple extra. I said maybe 55 tines to have a few in case some break. They are $22.20 a tine. So for 55 tines, it's going to be $1,221 to replace the tines of that York rake, which it's in dire need. We should have had them replaced last year, but we tried to stretch the season.
You'll
And
be using that in the spring?
yeah, we'll probably be using that sooner than later if Mother
So
Nature.
some of these you might want approval on now, like you don't need the stump grinder now, but you would need these tines now so you could start working on it.
Right, the blower would probably be in a few more weeks. We'd probably like to get that sent out once we kind of know we can go without a spreader in the back of the truck, and we could load that in the truck and get that down there. But the tines are probably something I wouldn't mind ordering, getting them within a
Make a
couple of weeks.
motion, we approve the purchase of the tines,
I'll second that.
and the price is what?
$1,221.
1221. Any discussion?
That's for 55 tines at $22.20 apiece?
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Go ahead.
Loading the tires on the backhoe, I talked to Frechette Tire, with the labor and all that involved with the product, it's $950 to load those rear tires, which would help stabilize that backhoe and really make that a lot
I'll make a
better.
motion to approve loading the backhoe tires for $950, $50? How much?
950,
950.
yep.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye. 3-0.
So, after hearing the price for the basins truck there and all that, Tony and I are trying to come up with another idea in renting like the mud sucker over at Coleman's.
Okay, hold on. So did you see the quote from the company in Bedford, New Hampshire to drive up here at $250 an hour to
Yeah.
drive both ways, and $250 an hour to suck the sand out of the culvert, the catch basin on Oak Ridge and Eidelweiss Drive? And it doesn't include disposing of the material that they pull out of it. And so we're figuring a truck like that might take 6 hours round trip at $250 an hour, just to get here and go home. And for that money, I'd buy a shovel and shovel it out myself. If I can make a deal as a contractor, which I probably can. That's why I'm gonna-
Be a conflict of interest.
So Jeff is going to a discussion of what they're thinking about, because that's not something, if it was a company that was closer to us, but paying the money, $250 an hour to drive a truck like that here.
So we're looking for a cost-effective alternative.
right.
So just to make sure, okay, so
Okay.
take it away.
Yeah, so we're gonna try, we might give something else a shot with renting, you know, a mud sucking pump that Coleman's has. They're $150 a day with the hoses and stuff, and try flushing some water in there with our water truck and try a different route and see how that goes. And if it doesn't seem to work good, we abort and we don't have to keep going. So it seems a little bit less costly on something like that. So something we could try, and like I said, as the snow melts, we'll get a better idea of what we're looking at with these basins and get a peek inside them more. So,
You said that was $150 a day?
yeah, this pump.
That's something that can wait until it thaws out.
Yeah, as spring kind of keeps coming on. So I got that, and I did price some flashers for the backhoe. They got these nice flashers. We could put like one in each corner of the backhoe. Right now they are, well, right now I could get them for $98 a piece. They're normally $150. The kid from John Deere would come up and wire these up professionally with the switch and everything, and do a nice job rather than have wires hanging all over the place. To get the beacon from John Deere like we've had on the Volvo is $246 and 80 cents, and they still have to buy the switch to wire that in. Now, the problem with the beacons, and we've gone through probably 4 of them in my time with the Volvo, they get whacked off from limbs and things like that. It's a little bit more money to go with the 4 flashers in each corner of the roof of that backhoe. The kid, he's mounted them on other ones for other towns and things
What's the
like
total
that.
for flashes then?
Well, at 98, you're talking $400 and something dollars for the flashers, for the 4 flashers, as opposed to $250.
Labor?
For the well, the labor I'm not sure of. The backhoe's coming up due for a 1,000-hour service pretty soon. We're at like 750. So again, this isn't something that has to happen now, but when they come and do the service for the backhoe, the transmission filter's gotta happen, the hydraulic filter, the oil, and then a few other things that are do with it. He could come and do this wiring for that as well. Try to throw that all in at once. So they came up the other day, and this is what I was talking to him yesterday. He came up because we've been having a problem with the stabilizers. I believe they're under warranty, he told me. So he come up and fixed that yesterday, and I talked to him about the lights and all that. So just something to think about.
So you want to bring it up again when you know he's coming back, or?
Yeah, when we know that we're gonna have to do that 1,000-hour service.
Okay.
So it's $396 total for the, is that discount gonna be in effect?
I don't know how long that's gonna last. It's a website that I got from my friend down at Ossipee that runs down there, and right now they're saying that they're $151 a piece,
Is
those
it
lights.
possible to just purchase those and leave them on the shelf
So we're not
until?
getting these from John Deere.
No, John Deere just
Buy
sells
them.
a beacon.
If you can store them,
Right, so if I
So
gave
make
the
a motion to
website to
purchase
Caitlin,
those
she could
strobes.
purchase.
Yeah, let's
these.
purchase them now, have them on the shelf,
Lights.
and when the service guys come up, we'll,
Right,
Having
if
them
you guys
installed.
would go for that, I think buying them now would be right, because I don't know how long they're gonna
because you
be
said
on
normally they go
sale.
for $250 a piece?
150.
$150 a piece.
Right, normally they're $151 a piece, now they're out there for $98 and some cents.
It's $52 savings, so yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
$192.
so Nancy seconded. Any further discussion on getting the strobes?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0.
So yeah, that's about it. We,
Do you want to talk about road bands?
what's that?
Road bands?
Road bands, yes. I talked to Ossipee, they're looking to put them on Monday. I think maybe we ought to do the same. This weekend's gonna get soft. We got, soft today, it's gonna be soft tomorrow, then it's gonna get cold tomorrow for Thursday, but it's gonna get soft again come Friday, Saturday, Sunday into next week. It seems
What
early.
needs to be done?
We vote to permit him to put road band signs up that say limits the weight of the trucks that can
Oh,
drive.
of
those
course,
roads.
okay, band.
Road
I
band.
thought I was hearing band. What's a band?
No.
Like B-A-N-D, okay,
Do
got
you
it.
really want to wait till Monday? Because we have some excavators in the village right now.
Right, and I talked with those guys, and they're gonna help, gonna work with me, they'll talk with me if we gotta get them in and out. They're trying to get a foundation poured.
On Appinville?
Huh?
On Appinville?
Appinville.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 10-wheelers bringing material back.
Yeah, they're going hauling a lot of stuff back and forth over there. He's aware that if it's getting soft, to kind of slow down.
If you're
And,
okay with Monday, Monday's good
yeah,
from the vote.
Okay.
I got some stone coming today or tomorrow from Mitchell, and if we see some soft spots, we'll lay some more of that down.
All in favor of road bands on Monday?
I need a
Aye.
second.
Oh, I'll give you a second.
Thanks. On my 3-0 on road
Oh, yeah.
band?
Aye.
Yes.
Monday.
And we took it upon ourselves last week, Caitlin, Tony, and I, and we created the fuel log for DPW too. So, guys, everyone take a look at that. We've got it up and running, and
Great.
that's about it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you. Enjoy this lovely afternoon. All yours, buddy. See you, buddy. See ya.
So at 9:18, we'll have Simply Water.
Hello again.
Come on.
Hello.
What's that?
Take two.
Take two. So I don't have anything new for you guys. Caitlin mentioned we might want to just get together. I know you guys had some things to iron out in your first couple weeks. Standard for us, nothing pressing. Obviously, we'll be getting into our seasonal work depending on weather as we, cross over into, March and April. Includes typically flushing, bleeders. I would like to line up leak detection district-wide with Granite State Rural Water this year. That's something that I can get some hard numbers for you guys, but essentially, I believe you guys are members of their organization, so it's a very nominal fee per day for them. I think it's about $100 to $150 depending on what equipment they bring. We would do a day or two of field work ahead of that, shutting off zones and trying to find any areas that we are, questioning, and then they would just do a physical walk through the entire district, whatever sections we find that we would like to look into. with the listening equipment and just try to find any problem areas. At the same time, if we had any dowsing we want to do, these guys are capable of dowsing at this point again too. So I know in the past we've had questions on the bridle path. I don't know if that's still something we're investigating or looking at. We can have them look into that. Along with, I have a couple of service lines I'd like to have them try to find. One over on Lucerne. We had a trouble call from about 3 months ago and kind of reignited an issue we had from 5, 6, 7 years ago. We don't know if they have an inoperable curb valve or if they don't have a curb valve at all. So I'd like to find where their water line is. So I've got some other kind of back pocket work I'd like to have them do when they're here. But that's something I'd like to get on the docket. Outside of that, you know, we've obviously got the overhang from last season's work. We got the, I'd like to do a little more exploratory work on Upper Lakeview before digging up there, but we've got the leak in that area, and then obviously the service connection on 56, I think it's 56 Eidelweiss Drive that we have to do once spring comes around. So, outside of that, we're just, you know, normal things day to day. I did want to, you know, I understand we are not moving forward with the asset management, correct? So, you know, I'd like to get, at some chance, have an opportunity with you guys to sit down and talk about what our other options are on that. I would like to further what we have for mapping, what we have for available information, you know, and I do think it would behoove us to continue to look at gate valving in the district as an option, something you guys can plan out and work on, but you know, we still have certain sections that are very problematic and don't have good isolation that I think we should certainly, you know, at least start coming up with some game plans for that. So if you guys have a different way of wanting to go about it, obviously that's good, but I'd like to do something to move forward with updating our mapping and coming up with a more comprehensive. And I can bring in some examples of most of them are older because I did things better, 30 years ago. But bringing some examples of some mapping that we have that you guys will maybe be able to see the difference between what we work off here versus what we have in some other semi-similar systems, 200-300 home developments that it can really simplify the process when you're going out to try to actually find things and isolate and just know what you're getting into. So. But yeah, like I said, just something I'd like to, at some point, set some time aside to have that discussion. So, outside of that, I got nothing new for you guys. So,
each week that you may come, Caitlin asks us what we can tell you we want to talk about. I think, and I told her this week, I just like to continue on subjects that we've already talked about.
Okay.
And I think the easier way to do this is, if there's a new subject, it's easier for us to tell you in this meeting and then wait for the next time you come back rather than go through the process of having to communicate through the office, send it to you. That's just...
Yeah, whatever works. Well, all I want is when we come in, if you guys have very pointed questions about certain things, it's hard for me to, I can certainly draw back on what we understand, but inevitably I'm going to tell you something incorrect, right? I'm going to give you the wrong distance, money, time, whatever it is.
So we'll try that way.
That's fine.
We won't ask for new subjects, and we'll tell you, and then hold off until you are ready to get into it.
Yep, that's fine. Okay, so let's. Do you guys have anything we'd like to discuss future?
Well, let's on the previous subjects. What's in my mind is getting drawings of the PRVs that was installed during what we call the Rhineac project, which really went beyond the Rhineac project, particularly the one in the road in Jungfrau. And I think you mentioned that we should have the engineer that did that project work on that, but I don't think they had any involvement in that PRV. They didn't draw anything, and my take was that it was...
There is a construction drawing for that PRV. So somebody, I don't know which engineering firm put something together, but somebody put together a construction drawing for it. So there was a plan to go off.
Good answer. So we don't know, we wouldn't know where that is in the office, like whatever. So it would be Jones and Beach that did it.
I think Jones and Beach is our starting point. My assumption is, now obviously I know, right through the project, Nick, Du Bois and King has had involvement in different drawings. It might have been one of theirs that we integrated in. I don't have the answer to that. So,
Okay.
but yes, I believe Jones and Beach would be our best starting point to start trying to track this stuff down. Because I'm with you. I think we need all of the project, not just the PRVs. The whole Rhineac project is undocumented at this point. So, the pipeline, we have about 5,000 feet of pipeline, blow-offs, the removal of bleeders, the tank, the pressures, all the things that go along with that is currently undocumented. So,
Okay, so we'll get to that.
Yes.
That'll
Okay.
be things that we'll talk about going forward, because that's a big project pulling all that out of the sky.
yep.
But the answer that a drawing exists is great, good news that I didn't know about before. Somebody drew something.
I've seen something somewhere.
I can ask Nick about it
Yeah,
too.
that's
'Cause,
it.
in general, we're heading towards doing more with Nick than with CMA.
Understood.
And my experience is that he's got more experience with this system, and you've mentioned several times in the last year how many engineering firms the village seems to have gone through in a short time.
Yes.
And he's been the one that's been working on stuff for us, no matter what board was talking to who at the time and getting billed. So, in that note, I want to give you the heads up that we have a warrant article to do an engineering study and design of solving the water volume problem that was identified in the 2005 master plan by Fluid into the Como zone. And I've gone back over the 2005. It was interesting, even the water ordinance has changed a lot since I was involved with it 13 years ago. And it says in there that the village will follow this 2005 master plan, which I found interesting. So we're following the ordinance by following that 2005 master plan. He points out several different ways, a couple of different ways of solving the flow problem into that zone, being limited by the 2-inch pipe that comes down from Oak Ridge Road.
That zone in particular, I like to get together with Nick on this because this has always been such a hot button conversation about the flow into the Como zone. And we've studied Como zone now half dozen times. I might be under exaggerating that. It might be more like a dozen times. We've put data loggers out on that zone over holiday weekends, over 1 week spans, over these different time periods, and time again it keeps coming back that we just don't have what the assumed issues we should have in that zone due to the PRV pinch point, 2-inch PVC feeding all the way from Oak Ridge down, and obviously a pretty expansive zone over there. We're just not seeing the issues that would assume to come with that.
The data loggers record pressure,
They do.
not volume,
Right.
not flow. He has written to us saying that he knows that you're focusing on the pressure and you increase the pressure at the PRV. He warns us that there's a danger in doing it.
I haven't increased pressure at the PRV, but
Okay.
if it's changed, it's just based, obviously things get older and the springs can move or something like that. It's not part of our standard process of checking, outside of when we pump the pits down and check them. We typically record that data and send it back and look for any feedback on, if they're looking for a change to that zone. We don't necessarily have a set pressure that we
So what I see is that Nick is talking flow, and
Yeah.
Fluid talked about flow. That's different from pressure.
it is.
And what he's talking about is the number of houses that are being added onto it, which Fluid was talking about way back in 2005. There are many more houses and many more empty lots to go in that zone. And Fluid got into the details of 4 lots in particular, and he named them against the old lot numbers, the old system. And he said that would be a problem if he went to a design where he brought a new 4-inch pipe down from the Winnegon Gretchen area to bring 4-inch line in much more volume of water per minute into the zone. And he wanted to do it that way. He looked at it that way because it would be cheaper, electricity-wise, because the water is only going to Jungfrau, now feeding the Como zone, as opposed to going to Rhineac, gravity fed back down up to Oak Ridge Road where it enters this 2-inch confining pipe into the Como zone. He said that would be the design that he went with because the savings over the years in electricity would be huge. The only thing was, I think he was identifying 4 highly elevated lots in that whole zone that wouldn't be supplying the pressure needed. And at that time, he was suggesting in the master plan that could be solved with in-house pressure systems like we did at which is no longer acceptable by
Yes,
DES.
right.
I know. So, but that doesn't mean that a study of that would have us solve the problem for everything but that. So we have a warrant article to do a study where I also see complications of running a 4-inch line down Eidelweiss Drive through existing water lines that are there. And the length of the pipe is longer. The shortest run of pipe actually was from Oak Ridge Road to Como. So we have a warrant article for him to do a study, and work with us, choose a design, and come back to the village with design and a bid package and quotes, firm quotes from companies that will do the job. You know,
Gotcha.
It's going to be a big job. So all I want to do is give you the heads up on that. We can have discussions.
Okay.
But basically, I hear you, and I get what you're saying, but I'm seeing what Fluid and Schedule are talking about is different from measuring the pressure at these houses.
And this is why, at the end of the day, as you've heard me say numerous times, I want the engineers to be the ones driving the ship on where we're going with this stuff.
I'm glad to hear you
I'd
say
obviously
that.
like to have a conversation with them and be involved in it, but, because don't get me wrong, I'm all for having a 4-inch water main feeding Como zone. It would eliminate any concern we had about connections over there. My bigger concern it's not that I don't think that's a good project, it is. It's that I am waiting for more and more issues out in our high pressure zones like Middle Shore, the outstretching legs of that, East Bergamo and Port Shore, and then you have Little Shore down at the tail end of that where we're running about 125 to 140 PSI in those zones. So it's not, Interlaken and that whole grouping is our problem child when it comes to leaks. So don't get me wrong, I think it's if that's a project that move forward or that's being explored, I'm all for it. I just would like to make sure we're investing in a spot that is our like a critical point now. So that's all I'm saying.
I would also like to see more PRVs go in, and the sooner the better, because I get a handle on the high pressures.
Yes.
The pressure coming into my house is 130 pounds.
Right. So is it that high out near you? So yeah, I guess because Muddy Beach, or the standing pressure there is 125 to 130. So I mean, you're essentially in that same. And I'm
at the end
area.
of a long 2-inch run.
Right. So I'm with you. I think that we have 5 operating PRVs at this point. It wouldn't be odd to me. Obviously, we're adding a 6th up on Schweitz. Wouldn't be crazy to have 8, 10, 12 working PRVs in the district. Just because we follow 10 state standards here. So in other words, we really can't have too high of a pressure. Doesn't mean we want to have 130, 140 PSI feeding homes. It's a recipe for disaster. So, but honestly, fortunate we don't have more issues with internal plumbing based off that. I know people with PRVs coming into their house, they fail, and with the moment they do, and then you have a water heater set to blow off at 85 PSI, it's honestly amazing we just don't have more of that occur. So,
I have 3 dials that show before it comes into my pressure reducing valve in the house, and I have one in the output, and that's been pegged at 60 pounds for years.
right.
But I watch that to see whether that
Make sure
PRV
you're
is
not
failing.
failing. So yeah, I'm and obviously like you said, Nick, and did you say Paul's involved still too?
No.
Oh, I thought you just said his name. All right, 'cause
Oh.
Jesus, I thought he was done.
His 2005 work is still articulate about what it was that he was after in the master plan.
Yeah,
It's like, that's why even in 2024, our ordinance still references that document he created in 2005. And it's still, if they were searching last year to prioritize projects, it's still all right there.
right. And I think, obviously it's been 20 years or so since that document came out, and like you said, there's still a lot of feasible information in that. I do think from a perspective of our ordinance and that master plan, maybe it's something we can discuss. We have some rules in our ordinance that I think are worth looking at, like the 4-inch minimum pipe extensions, which obviously we've at times opted not to enforce. I guess I would like to see, and we've had this conversation in the last 6 months or so, but I would like to see our ordinance be tightened up to a degree. I want, when everybody comes in with a lot line, we've sat in some of these discussions here recently where it's like, somebody's trying to extend a water main and we're in a debate whether it should go to their property line, the beginning of it, the end of it, what size the pipe is, all these just things that I think we can clean up and simplify so that all that matters to me, it's simpler for us and you guys as well if the same thing gets told to every person that gets asked a question.
In his 2005 master plan, he says things like we should have standards like what type of pipe.
Right.
And he does mention this should all be 4-inch pipe, not 2-inch pipe. And he recommends 3 different types of pipe. And I think back then, fused HDPE was kind of new.
Yes.
But I think we even voted last year to standardize on that, and then we didn't use it on the Fusers project.
Right.
Another thing he says in his master plan is that we should standardize on pipe being 7 feet down.
And I would probably talk to you guys about not going that route just because your dig repair depth it gets pretty cumbersome. 7 feet deep, and our frost line is not that deep, even in a very bad winter. I think the 6 feet that we work with is more than adequate, so.
One more thing,
Yep.
and then I'll let you guys go because we're trying to
Yes.
stay in the schedule here. We have a big decision to make as a village on Grissom Road. And that's going to involve the water main. And the people of Eidelweiss are going to have to make a decision as to whether they want to raise over $1 million to fix a drainage problem, that year-round brook that flows and has taken out that road twice. I just looked at the engineering drawings from 2017, and the solution is, the reason it's costing $1 million is because you have to do it for Grissom and Bergdorf, which has no water main. But it's a 12-foot wide box culvert, 6 feet high, the whole length of the road. That's
And you guys are looking at just not doing it, leaving it
the
open?
choice under Nick's recommendation is, there's A, B, and C choices. A, do this project and spend the money. B, try to fix it, which he's not recommending at all. He sees the downside. The risk in trying to fix that is huge, and they may not perform the way that it should be performing with this 12-foot wide box culvert. And choice C is take everything out of there and return it to a natural ravine, which means what do we do with the water pipe?
Right.
So I'm putting that under your hat to think about too. And at the very least, I wish that we had put isolation valves on both sides of that when we had it open.
On
with-
both sides of the pipeline.
ravine, in case, like, it could wash out tomorrow for all we know. And it would be nice to be able to just isolate it right there.
Yes, I see your point. Obviously, we were in kind of an emergency scenario, and I did not have the valves available.
Right,
But, and it's not a tremendously difficult thing if we did want to go back to now and do.
Right.
And the good news is, well, from my perspective, the isolation to that is literally, it's the feed line that's 100
close
yards
by.
away. So all those things are positives, but it's actually funny you mentioned it as you're talking about finding an alternate feed. You go down, I'm going to space on the name of it, the Gretchen on the right? That's currently not supposed to be the feed. We have 15 houses that are already fed off it. You could take that Jungfrau pump line. Yeah, we'll think on that because if you ran down Bergdorf, I guess you'd have to eliminate. That's the only way to do it, right? You have to go down either Bergdorf or Grissom. So
Right.
one or the other.
So you're thinking about it already.
All right. So yeah, we'll have that on the mindset. Alternate feed for that zone.
It's going to be a good puzzle. I'm going to say that there will be people affected that live in that area by that road closing permanently. But it's more money than the village ever spent on anything.
Right.
Even buying the village from the developer. We bought the whole village, all 5 beaches, all of the roads, the water system for $300,000.
Yeah, it's great investment. I think it's worth more than that now. So.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little.
And so here we are trying to fix a gravel road, 2 gravel roads for what's going to be over 1.2 million.
Wow.
So I'm predicting human behavior here and thinking they're going to not go for it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well,
They're going to be
luckily
given
not
the choice, like a democracy almost.
Right. Not my fun. not my fun to have to get into that. So, but
Anything else?
we'll think on some options for that. No, and we can make ourselves available for weekly meetings. I don't I'd like to have some continuing effort towards working on something. We do face-to-face meetings. I mean, obviously emails and stuff like that are fine. If we guys just have some back and forth, but coming in, I'd like to have, you know, if we're going to further discuss anything we just talked about now, or if you guys want to give me a list of things we want to go over, obviously sometimes there's a value in that. So just so you guys know, we can be available most of the time, 90% of the time I can get here on a Tuesday meeting, but I don't want to make it the standard. We come just to say, hey, how you guys doing? Nothing changed. See you later. If we've got stuff to work on, then
Yeah, we hate to have you come down and say hi. and
yeah,
we-
I know. I like to talk too much anyway and mess up you guys' meeting time. So, so yeah, just let me know if there's anything. But I do want to. The biggest thing for me is I do want to keep on path of some form of asset management because it's woefully, you know, there's nothing to it right now. Even the processes we've tried to implement, I don't think that they're going to be practical in the long term. I think as long as the people that are involved in it are involved in the district, maybe it'll be okay. But the moment that that isn't the case, what we're trying to do
We
won't
want to
work.
improve the information system at our next meeting, which I think that you can go light on coming to these meetings until we get through the annual meeting.
Yep.
Because we have our buckets full with stuff to do.
Okay.
To get through that. So after the annual meeting, we'll,
And that makes sense to me. Then we can dig into some of these, the water ordinance and asset
PRVs.
management, all that. And I think when I say asset management, it's really your distribution system as a whole. We can start discussing, not just the tracking of the information, but it and what it is and what
one
we're
more thing
looking
to
at.
think about. I want you to pick your targeted gate valve, not gate valve, blow off, not blow off, bleeder.
Okay.
Of the remaining bleeders left, I want you to pick your number one target for us to get rid of.
That's a tough one.
That's why I'm giving you plenty of time. That's not gonna be something that we're talking about in the early going.
The issue, just to give you a heads up on why I have a hard time with bleeders, because I have no idea. Most of these bleeders aren't just feeding, they're not feeding a dead, you know, there might be a couple that I can find that are feeding a dead end to 300 feet, but as a rule, these bleeders are on a zone. And who knows, all you need is one area that's 3.5 feet deep, that if you eliminate a bleeder, next thing you know, you got a frozen pipe somewhere. So I will think on it, and if I can find an area that does have a very easy,
So we did all the easy ones.
well, that was what made that easy when we replaced those, is we replaced all the pipeline that can feed it. So we knew 100% that everything was buried at depth. So, because if we had stopped shy of 100 yards of the pump house, who knows? You know, I mean, I know that was insulated and things like that, but at the end of the day, we knew there was shallow main up there. So the moment if you don't get from A to B, that's the entirety of where one bleeder ends and the next one kind of takes over the water main,
Right.
then you're taking at least some calculated risk, which is doable, but we'd have to know we'd have to know what we're doing when we do it. So, but I think there's probably a couple out there that are on dead end roads. But you saying that did also bring up something I mentioned, but I think we were maybe looking at Warren article, and I know that we're trying to hew all that stuff back, but starting to switch our blow-offs to yard hydrants or something that they can remain usable in the winter. We can't use our blow-offs in the winter, so when we have outages, when we have shutdowns, our blow-offs are inoperable. There's no, they freeze up. So the whole pipe that feeds them freezes, and they're not bleeding curb valves, nor are they allowed to be bleeding curb valves. So we can't, and if we get into a process like we did on the road garden where we had a bunch of valves and, you know, we ended up with 3 curb valves and boxes and all that stuff, it's cheaper to put in a hydrant. You know, and I'm talking about a little 2-inch
The red ones we had.
draining hydrant. You see them up on the new zone.
Western stock.
Yes. So,
I thought that those were gonna be plow magnets, that they're gonna be clipped by the plows because they're sticking straight up versus.
well, fortunately, we just have to flag them, bulk, do something so that those guys need to learn where they're at. I mean, systems that have hydrants, you got to be, you know, cognizant that they're there
Yeah.
and not clip them. I mean, I don't want to see them get busted more than, you know, we want them usable to us.
But the benefit of blowing a pipe off in the winter after a repair, I get it.
There's a lot of things to it that is, you know, we struggle sometimes with winter work with that. So certainly we could start in the problem zones and pick maybe a handful, half dozen that we'd like to see put in, and then, you know, put it on or put that into the process. Even if we did 1 or 2 a year, kind of look at the same way with the gate valves. If we could get 1 or 2 clusters a year, 10 years from now, we look back and go, geez, we've got. As you go to pick a pipeline project, it goes from being a half mile to, you know, couple 100 feet in between valves. So,
So we have stuff to do.
Yes.
Let's end this because we
All
keep
right.
going forever.
perfect, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Have fun. And I don't know if you guys have met my guy Noah, but this is Nancy
Hi,
and
Noah.
Yoda. They're the new commissioners. He'll be more and more involved as time goes on, so you guys will see his face.
Excellent.
Easier to look at than mine anyway, so. All right, guys, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good one.
You too.
Yeah.
So now at 9:45, we go to the administration report. Am I right?
Yes.
Dawson's invoice.
Okay.
Is this the one dated 10/26/22?
Well, that's the big one, right?
For a total of balance due of $26,894, or am I on another one?
No, the one I printed was 24,985. And it was attached to the email that I forwarded to you on Monday, February 19th.
February 19th, okay.
And it's the balance from the ordinal PRV pit project and the change, including change order number 2. And the question was, this was the bill that I had requested a check for, and then you had asked me to go back to them and find out if this bill includes any work that hasn't been completed. And they responded with, yes, there is still a small portion of work to be completed that Ian asked us to hold off on until better weather, which Ian discussed a couple weeks ago. Jake is agreeable to holding $4,500 deposit for future work if that works for you and the board. So they're willing to accept a check for $4,500 of this invoice until the work is completed. In another email was a breakdown of this invoice in more detail, and the response I got was it was included in the original contract.
So the question is, do we want to write a check for $4,500?
Yes, because they're asking when payment will be remitted.
Right.
So
The contract says that we have 15 days to pay any bill that they invoice us for.
Right.
And it also says that we pay 15% per month
On overdue bills?
on late bills, yes. So I'm gonna make a motion that we paid that deposit check of $4,500 to Dawson.
Second.
I'm okay with that, even though I don't understand was this the whole PRV project up at Lakeview?
Yes.
And that part of it was funded by that grant we got, and then there was,
To go over what happened with this contract that started in October of 2022,
yeah.
went into 2023, and is now going to finish up hopefully in the spring of 2024. And 2 engineering change orders that happened on top of what this contract, which is written on their paper by them, and doesn't reference any engineering drawings or anything that Skagel did.
Remember that was an issue? Yeah.
We can reconstruct that, but we don't have many choices because this was signed by that board.
Right.
So I kind of like knowing details of what we're doing by making payments on this, which caused them to be very cooperative by offering the $4,500. And hopefully continue along that line, get this all done, and when necessary, just bite the bullet and go forward with what we were handed by the previous board.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place, but I say let's go ahead and do it, and never let this situation afflict us again.
Yes. So the motion's on the floor. All in favor of the $4,500 deposit payment?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0.
Dinah, this is coming out of that special account, should I just write it out of, do you want to get a bank check? Okay.
I'll get the minutes saying that that's what they want to do.
Okay, we probably should not wait for that to get them this money as soon as possible. Because the minutes could be another 5 business days.
Right.
So,
So do we want to just do?
Do you want to make a motion to allow her to get the check without the minutes?
does the bank need to see the minutes, or you need to see the minutes? You need to have a copy of the minutes.
The bank doesn't need to see that.
It's sort of the bank's decision, not mine, but they have been accommodating in the past.
Would a memo from us do it? Is that easier than waiting to get the minutes done? Just to-
Sure.
So we'll make a motion to have a memo for the bank and for Dinah, saying we're authorizing a bank check for $4,500 to Dawson.
I'll second that.
Okay, we can add that, we'll sign it out of session so that
You
as
don't
soon
have
as
to
the memo
sign.
is ready, we
You
can.
don't have to sign it, it's a bank check.
No, I
The
mean,
memo.
the memo.
Oh,
Well, we might even be able to do it. We're gonna have a non-public session back at the office at the end of this meeting.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
Whip out a little
Yep.
memo. and
okay,
sign it then.
yeah, all right, sounds good.
if I can pick it up tomorrow, I'll get the check to you.
Sure. Perfect.
All in favor of that memo?
Who seconded that, Nancy?
Nancy?
Yes,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
3-0.
Thank you. Okay, that's done. Something that wasn't on the agenda, but I added this morning. We got notification from Kat's Bookkeeping Services that she's resigning as of March 23rd.
Yes.
So that includes, she's going to do the first quarter payroll. And then after that, you're gonna have to search for a new QuickBooks consultant.
Is she willing to refer us to other payroll services that can easily just take over her system?
I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, because, I've seen this before in companies I've consulted with, and when payroll service said basically we're going out of business, this is what this sounds like, she's going out of business.
She's not going out of
No.
business. She's just resigning.
I've known her for a long time, and
Does she work for them?
I
She
have-
works for herself.
she sent me a private email
Uh-huh.
that I didn't forward to anybody. She's actually got two businesses. The opposite is happening, and she actually wanted to stop having Eidelweiss as a customer last year, but held off, and just chose this time coincidentally to say now she really needs to focus on the two businesses that she's in. So I can ask her for the references, but I know she's like very busy, and the accounts that she wants are not government accounts.
Right, but she's kind of leaving us in the lurch. It's very little lead time to do a handoff to a whole new company.
But one of the things you were mentioning was, why are we using a company anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So we may solve this
Right.
without needing another firm to do it for us.
Right.
And I'll be making a
Are
motion.
you saying doing that all in-house,
Yes, out of QuickBooks.
out of QuickBooks?
I don't know, you two seem to agree that that's, because.
Whoever, then, and also I've resigned, so as of March 15th, I will no longer be with the district. So
Right, so-
whomever fills my seat, if they know how to do it, that is something that you could certainly give them. If they are not as familiar with QuickBooks as I was coming into this, that's gonna be,
Yeah,
they have to
have the skill set.
They absolutely have to know,
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks.
they
Yes.
have to know the formulas
And the
of
payroll.
payroll tax returns.
Mhm.
Because QuickBooks sometimes isn't always accurate.
Yeah, and it's not really QuickBooks I'm concerned about. It's the proper payroll of FICA and Medicare.
That's
You
correct.
screw up on that, the feds will be all down your throat.
Yep.
Right.
So,
That's why many companies, they just use, payroll services.
There aren't many
Yes.
in this valley, I will tell you. There aren't many payroll people. You potentially could check with Francine
Uh-huh.
Rowe,
who used to
maybe.
do it for us.
I don't know if she's willing to do it again. But that's about the only one that I can think of.
Yeah, I don't think we want to put our eggs all in one basket, hoping we'll find somebody to take over Caitlin's position that already has this sort of knowledge and know-how. That'd be great if they do.
On that note, I'd like to make a motion that we run an ad on Indeed's website and use the same ad that we used in the July 2023 time period.
not familiar with that ad, but it got us
But did that say
cable, so
someone,
it had to be
yes.
good.
payroll, how to process payroll?
Say QuickBooks experience.
I think we should.
I'm not gonna get hung up on that.
Right.
We're either gonna hire somebody to do it or get lucky and have
Or
somebody
we're-
come in with the
correct.
skills. Because the odds are not great.
Okay, okay,
We're gonna solve it one way or another.
Right,
yeah, we have to.
Need a
Yes.
second.
second.
Any further discussion on getting that Indeed out of?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. So,
Nothing. You don't want anything in the Conway Daily Sun.
that didn't perform for us at all. Everything that we did came
You
from
can find
Indeed.
me on Indeed.
Oh, okay.
I came through the Conway Daily Sun.
I
But-
I think we're in a bit of a dire position, that maybe we need
That's-
to go to, more than just one advertisement.
Was it the Sun
Source.
No.
or someone in Albany that, job was open?
No, I originally saw it in the Sun.
Okay. So, I'll make a motion for discussion to run the ad in the Sun also.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on that?
You heard my opinion, so.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for that.
And I will tell you that Indeed, you get a lot of like resumes from people afar. That they just, I don't know if they have their account set up that just sends you things, but I know previously in my past, the number of resumes you get through Indeed, there's like 1 of 10 that are of a local person. Because they all want to work remotely. So they all send them in hopes that they can do it from afar.
So
We
we
did
did
get-
add that this is not a remote
I will make
position?
sure that, yes, I will make sure that that's there.
We did get some pretty qualified people though, surprisingly, that were local. So we'll see what happens.
Yes.
Yep.
Whatever the market is today, right?
Right. Always
Um,
changing.
Next.
And something else that's not on here, but I thought of it this morning. I did have a long conversation with Michelle Clark from the DRA. Our budget has to be posted and the warrant articles have to be posted by March 9th. So I'm almost done with that, and that will be posted on our website. And then,
And the bulletin boards and all the, everything for the warrant?
no, I just have to do it on the website and hang it in the office.
The warrant?
Yeah.
5 places.
Well, I don't have 5 places to hang it.
Sure you do.
There's only 2 bulletin boards.
We got the 2 bulletin boards. One goes to the post office, one goes to the school, which is where the meeting is held. Is where we always did for the warrant. They update these things all the time, so I don't know.
If it has changed,
Yeah.
I will look.
Yeah, it's quite possible that it's changed. But it was definitely the meeting place, so we always had to bring one to the school.
well, we have until the 9th, we can,
Right. Yeah, we don't have
Yeah,
to
I
write.
have the annual traditional town meeting calendar in the description, so I just didn't know if it was right here in front of us. Notice shall be posted in 2 appropriate places, one of which should be the town internet website. Oh no, that's something else, that's the hearing.
Right.
So you said the school, the post office, the VDA bulletin boards?
Yeah, and the website, that's where we normally would put it, just to make sure that most people would have a chance to at least see it, if they were interested. But if we don't have to bring them around town, then it's,
well, let's move on if we
Okay.
don't need to have this answer right this moment.
So March 9th is posting?
Yes.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Is the tan warrant all set?
I'm waiting for, I needed the minutes to be,
Oh,
before I can attach it and send it.
okay, thank you.
But, oh, and there's some signatures that there's lines you didn't sign on, but you can do that today.
Are we moving on to old business?
Sure. There isn't any.
There isn't any, so we'll go to signature items at 9:59.
So the first
Kitchen use form?
setup
Just
for
needs, I
the,
think the only thing she didn't fill out was the exact time, so there's one line, but Carrie filled it out.
So Kerry's the one that's gonna be using the kitchen, so
That's lovely. I assumed he would give it to her.
and the times would be from 8 AM.
What about setup time? Should we have it a little earlier?
Well, the meeting doesn't start until 10.
Oh,
right. Voting starts
So
at
the
8.
setup time can be 9,
okay.
I would think. I'll say 5 PM, just to cover.
Be on the
Just-
safe side.
Yep.
Hopefully it won't go that
Right.
long.
So motion to approve this, it's gonna be signed by a principal and say approved, yes, no. Oh, wait a minute, is that for us to sign or for them to sign?
No, that's, they
The
sign.
principal of the school, yes.
Right.
I'm not the principal.
You're commissioner, not a principal.
So the signatures, so I'll make a motion that we approve the procedures for use of kitchen form for the Madison School District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. I would say that we're not gonna do the Belmore vacuum truck,
Based on your conversation with Jeff, I would say no.
so no need to address this form. I guess we thank them for the quote if they contact you. Credit application for Mark Motors, where we just had the Ram trucks fixed.
We don't, you know, just already bill us, aren't we already?
No,
On your system?
when they went to get the first truck, Jeff took the debit card with him because we didn't have an account set up.
Okay.
So this is
So this is a
for
new-
This is set up.
future,
This
Yep.
is a new vendor completely.
yeah,
Yes.
Where are these guys located?
Sanford, Maine.
Okay.
I hereby certify that the information contained is complete and accurate. Information has been furnished with the understanding that it is to be used to determine the amount and conditions of credit to be extended. Furthermore, I authorize financial institutions listed in this application to release necessary information to the company for which credit is being applied for in order to verify the information contained here within. And the name and address, you left that blank
I
because
did because I didn't know who.
whether it's a person or the village district of Eidelweiss?
Well, I think it has to be a person as well, and I didn't know if it should be you as the chair or
So it started as VDOE
it is.
and then Mark as chair, I would think would be the other name.
I'm wondering if they're gonna run that person's credit though.
They shouldn't, it's a municipality.
Yeah, it should be a personal line of credit, they're looking at our personal.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm gonna write village district of Eidelweiss as the
Well, I
person.
did.
Yeah.
If you look 2 lines down.
It is, it's
It's
type
a
of
type of
business.
business.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, if they were gonna run any credit check, it would be on the municipality itself, not
Right,
any
not of any,
governing official.
correct.
And I'll sign it?
Sure.
Yes.
Two 27-24.
And they're going to get the truck tomorrow, I think. So if they do, I'll have them take this with them.
And that takes care of signatures items.
Did we have a second on the Mark Motors? I don't think so. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nancy seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
At 10:05, we'll go to commissioners' reports. So one of the items I have was the Indeed ad, we covered that. And the only thing I have to report on is the Grissom culvert in FEMA. So I'm going to describe to you the conversation I had on the phone with Caitlin present and Jeff was present at the office yesterday. I talked to a gentleman named Dave Ross, who is finishing his 50 days of duty here for the New Hampshire disaster of July of last year with the rainstorm that took out our Grissom culvert and damaged a lot of other stuff. In short, he was saying that the standard deadline is 18 months from the date that FEMA declares it a disaster officially. And that was going to put it into the March timeframe. That we had the ability to get 75% of the cost of work done on the Grissom culvert finished to qualify for the 75% reimbursement. That's the summary. He talked about a lot of things about switching categories and so forth that I'll try to spare you from and condense this down. What came out of the conversation by asking him questions about what's possible is that the three of us learned that there's this mechanism to get an extension from that 18 months that changed the whole story as far as the deadline was concerned. And I'll jump to the contact name in New Hampshire that is the Homeland Security person that is the front line of all the FEMA stuff. He described it as FEMA now is in a position that they're just backing up the New Hampshire employees that are the forwarded face to the municipalities that are looking to get help from the federal government with this disaster relief plan. So Danielle Roberts is the person with Homeland Security that we'll probably be talking to if we go forward with anything. Then it broke down into two different projects. One is that everything that FEMA needed to reimburse us for everything else that we spent money on to fix all of the roads from the July rainstorm has not been submitted to FEMA by the previous board and staff. So there's a project that we have to do, and Jeff is going to be digging into what we have as documentations on what type of materials do we purchase, how much of our trucks do we use, and how many man hours went into it to report what could be reimbursable at a percentage by FEMA. So that's one project that we have to do. The other project is the Grissom culvert. So I was explaining to him that I had heard that there was an engineering design that was done for the Grissom culvert years ago. And it wasn't even clear to me. I was surprised to see it was actually done in 2017. It was initiated by the storm of 2012 that first racked out this road in the exact same way that it did in the exact same place, which surprisingly wasn't near the culverts. It was down the road, away from the culverts,
Right.
in both cases. So Caitlin found the folders. This purple folder that used to be blue until it got faded somehow is all the documentation from the engineering companies to the state of New Hampshire to get the Army Corps of Engineers to approve the permitting for us to work in a wetlands area and to do a project that would fix this undersized culvert problem for the foreseeable future. And my quick study through that says that we spent about $15,000. That sound familiar? To produce two engineering drawings. This is for a Grissom Road stream crossing, and this is for the Bergdorf stream crossing.
Those look very familiar.
Long story short, we're agreeing that both of these have to be done to solve the problem, because if you do Grissom and don't do Bergdorf, Grissom's going to efficiently send the next flood down harder
Correct.
into Bergdorf.
For clarification, so I understand what's going on here, and referencing back to your discussions with Ian and talking about there's three options. One was the fix option. This is really the fix option. Right?
This is the fixed option.
This is not this 1.1 million box culvert major
This,
undertaking.
this will cost
Yes, it is.
over 1.2 million.
Oh, so this is,
Yes, that's the
this is the
major-
big one.
I'll tell you
Yes.
why. So jumping to answer your question, why it's, I think it's more than 1.2 million. We asked one company to give us a quote on fixing the Grissom culvert and the Bergdorf culvert
Right.
in a fashion similar to this, but not using these drawings. Any documentation I see didn't have them saying, we'll give you a quote against what it would cost to do this. And this is very detailed as to what has to be done.
Okay,
There's-
so you trust these documents as a good, if we're gonna go ahead with a big project, these are good source documents to use.
Yes.
Legally, we have to use these documents, because these are the only documents that are permitted by the state of New Hampshire,
Okay.
which is all of this.
Gotcha.
So, footnote, I could go all over the place with this story, because this story is huge, and I'm trying to practice on you as to how we even tell this to the voters during an annual meeting that doesn't last a week. The permitting of this happened in 2018. It expired, the permitting all expired in January of 2023, last year. So technically, we can't do anything. We'd have to get, if the voters want to go ahead and fix this,
I think there's an extension to
we-
2025.
I thought we did an extension.
I think there is one.
it probably is there.
Yep.
I
think it
got
was
these
extended.
yesterday.
I think it was
Yeah.
extended to 2025.
Did you say January though?
No, I just said 2025.
Okay. So we maybe have some time until the 2025 annual meeting. We don't have time this year.
Well, okay, so let's put that aside, that's not a significant point, because we would we'd have to get an extension if we want to do it anyway. And I don't see anything happening in 2024 as far as construction or any of that
Exactly.
stuff. Nor do I see the voters going for this at all. But that's not the way I'm gonna present it, I'm gonna present it where they have the choice.
Yeah.
All right, so we'd have to get the permitting through the end of the project, and the 75% reimbursement on this kind of project, which we were hearing they didn't want to do anything like, FEMA wouldn't want to be involved in reimbursing anything for a project like this. He started to say, if we resubmitted to FEMA saying, this is what we need to do to get this fixed right, that would change everything. He would recategorize what this project was, and then the door may be open for us getting 75% back on this. But if everything went smoothly and we got the permitting timing right and we got bid packages and the voters voted for it, they would still have to raise all that cash, have to raise that money in advance.
Right,
Do the project, which means we pay the cash out.
Yeah.
correct.
And then we get to resubmit to FEMA for them to start the process of reimbursing us with 75%.
Yeah, everything happens after the
Right,
bills have been paid.
right.
Yeah.
So they still, it's not like FEMA is stopping us from having to raise all this money, no matter what we do.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that before.
So, we have a warrant article that says that we could fix the Grissom culvert for $70,000.
$70,000, yeah.
And that was just done through a little misunderstanding, a little miscommunication. But it's a good placeholder. I don't think we have a problem discussing this and modifying this, particularly if we change it away from being a money decision article and change the wording to what the voters want to do as far as fixing the Grissom culvert, which is what that warrant article says. The DRA wouldn't have any problem with us dropping the money out altogether. They would have a problem if we went from changing it from 70,000, advertising the warrant, warning people, to changing it on the floor. Now we're talking 1.2 million. They would say,
Yeah, you can't do
Yeah,
that.
no.
and we're not gonna do that.
But
But
if
we're
I
gonna
understand you
discuss-
correctly, at this year's annual meeting, you just want to get up the pulse of the people?
Yes.
Yes,
One more fact that I happen to know is there was a time right after the July damage that Maggie Hassan was touring the state. And she came to this room on a Saturday. And the following Monday, 5 FEMA reps filled the room and there was another meeting. During Maggie Hassan's talk, and Mike Brooks gave her a PowerPoint presentation on what happened in Madison, including what happened in Eidelweiss on Grissom Road. And she went to Grissom Road. So she knows all about this project. She pointed out that FEMA has a program where they will lend money to municipalities that are faced with decisions like we're faced with at 1% interest. So that's just happens to be something she said that I heard in this room in July of last year. That would be something that I also presented to the voters as an option without knowing how we even apply for that, what the name of that program is. But we could ask them if they wanted us to investigate possible loan money from FEMA in advance of doing the project, if that's possible.
Wasn't that how Rhinoc was done, wasn't it? That was a big loan.
That was a grant.
It's a bond.
It was
a grant.
it was a bond and then a grant.
But it was bonded, a certain portion of it was bonded.
Yes.
Yes, we had to raise $883,000.
Right.
And we had to also say that we were going to use $300,000 of capital reserves, I think the number was. And they were going to reimburse us after we made the payments for 28%, I think it was. But that was the state of New Hampshire DES.
Yeah.
Under the clean water federal money they got seeded, I believe. So back to our story. Imagine what we're trying to do with the warrant article that we have on the warrant and give the voters a choice on what we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense, although I'd sure like to investigate the, getting a 1% loan. That's basically free money. And how long is the amortization period? If it's like over 20 years, that could be worked into the budget, and it becomes a whole different financial picture than having to get a big giant chunk of taxes up front right away, hoping that we'll get reimbursed down the road by FEMA.
Did you want to tell them the reimbursement in the 18 months and then we can ask for an extension?
Yeah, I thought I did. The extension can go, I didn't say how long.
Yeah.
The extension can go for 48 months.
Oh, okay.
So he was basically saying by asking Danielle Roberts to change the categorization of what we're doing here and approve it, that would change it from the deadline of 18 months to a deadline of 48 months. And that's 48 months to get the project finished, pay for it, and then submit for reimbursement.
So your 1%, your bond, potentially, your reimbursement could come.
Right, so in other words, never mind the 20, I mean, we start amortizing it, but then we still have the big balance, we get the reimbursement and
Pay it down.
pay
And
it
you pay it
down.
off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or pay it down.
So it sounds like the next step that we should do is nail down what this 1% opportunity might be.
yeah.
What a thing to try to present.
Well, really, they need to, like we said, what we need to ask the voters is, do they want to see the roads permanently closed? Do they want to see something like this, which takes major amounts of money? Or, what do the voters want us to do with these roads?
Right.
And obviously taking into consideration, there's a water main on Grissom. So does that change anybody's thought process? I don't think it changes our thought processes, but it might change some of the residents' thought processes.
And what's the cost to remove that water main and, or,
Right.
sink it down or whatever
Right.
you have to do to manipulate it to keep that road closed?
Closing the road is not a $0 investment.
That's correct.
Correct.
And that's what they need to understand.
Right, that's,
Right.
there's still stuff that has to be
Pick a number
done.
what that's gonna cost to relocate the water main and excavate that into a natural ravine again.
Right,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have a number off the top of my head.
Right,
Yeah.
right, we'd have to
Yeah.
sort of get a handle on that,
Yeah.
we may not have that by the end of the meeting, but.
no.
we'd have to say that.
I don't even think we should try to
Okay.
have most of
Right,
this by
but-
the annual meeting, just give them the options and
well,
they
I
can
don't-
tell us
but
which way
you
we
also
should be
have to
going.
Be very, you don't want to say, oh, one of our options is to close the road and they assume that it's free.
Right,
Oh,
no, I get
yeah,
that.
no, we definitely want to make sure that they know that every option is going to have some charges involved with it, no matter what we do.
Right, but on a conceptual level, what people understand is very few people are capable of purchasing all cash a brand new home. You know, so you take out a mortgage and pay it out over a 20 to 30 year period to make it manageable on a year-to-year basis. So that's sort of like one of the, even if we never got FEMA reimbursement, of course we would pursue that. If they want the roads open, is that sort of a route they'd be willing to go? Because it's sort of, you can swallow that.
Right. So further discussion today. I guess I would make a motion that I pursue collecting information about a possible FEMA loan. Get some details on that if possible.
Yeah,
I would be contacting probably Danielle Roberts and seeing what she can lead me to. So I'll make that motion. I need a second.
second.
Discussion on that.
No, you got me swimming, but I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah,
All in favor of that motion?
aye.
Aye.
3-0. So it was 15,000 for these engineering drawings, a little more, 15 and a half. They spent $26,000 putting those cement blocks in that didn't keep the road from getting washed out.
Are the books still?
Well, not to
In the
make a
office?
bad pun, but it's water under the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to move
We'll
on.
try not to do things like
Yeah.
that.
Are the books that go with that for the bid package?
I read about bid
Also
package, but
in
they
there?
were not in here.
Yeah.
I didn't see bid packages.
Okay,
They will
they-
be bound, the spiral bound?
Yes, there
Need to find
were,
those then.
they were in the office.
There were bid
I
packages on
can't-
this?
It was ready, the engineering was done, and it was in the book to
Get contractors to
distribute
bid.
for contractors to put together a bid package.
Oh, okay, but we never actually got bids. It didn't go to
Oh,
that stage.
no, because it
Right.
was $1 million,
Well,
and
no,
everybody said,
well,
we're
no.
not doing that.
Well, yeah, but Mark just said whoever did give us a bid, they didn't even refer to any of this.
No,
stuff.
they
didn't
weren't,
take a
they
look
weren't
at
asked to
this.
bid against this as far as I could see by any of the documentation. I
They
don't
just
remember
inspected the
anybody
site
else.
and came up with their own number.
They said they're gonna, I went back, well, after I got a chance to glimpse at these things, and I saw the size of this. I don't know if you were here when I was telling Jeff the size of this thing.
Mhm. No.
The box culvert that they're talking about putting in with the drawing, the engineer design, is 12 feet wide. So
Yeah.
if those doors were 6 feet,
Mm-hmm,
it's about the length of that wall wide.
yep,
Right.
And 6 feet high, set down 2 feet with a natural 2-foot materials in the bottom, so fishies can feel like
Can
they're still
go.
swimming in the brook. And greater than the width of the road itself to get to the endpoints. So the size of the crane that has to lift this prefabricated concrete open-ended box into place has to be huge. This thing must weigh a lot.
So box culverts are prefabricated.
Yes. So just trucking it here,
Uh-huh.
right? The contractor's bid that the previous board asked for doesn't say the size of the culvert. Just says we're getting a box culvert with their bid. So that's similar to the Upper Lakeview Riggy contractor's thing that doesn't reference any engineering drawings. That's not what we're going to be doing
Right,
as a
I
board.
Right.
agree. And that if there's no detail behind it, what's the plan? You know,
So it's based on that. The reason I'm explaining that in detail is we can add up the numbers that we got in the most recent contractor's proposal and say roughly that's 1.2 million. As of the date that's already gone by, we're into next year's pricing on top of it.
Yeah.
But that's not even against this, which I would hazard a guess to say that if we asked that same contractor to bid against this, the numbers would be
Yeah,
higher.
considerably higher.
So.
Now maybe
I'm not locking in
maybe
at
looking at
1.2
2 million. Yeah.
And I don't know what number I would lock in on. This is a
Can't-
tough conversation.
No, you can't.
There's one way to find out, and it costs money to even find out.
mm-hmm.
Right. This is not something you just want to swag.
It costs a lot of money to do things like this and do nothing and let it get old.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Like I said,
But here we are.
that's water under the bridge, so let's,
They left it for us to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Enough of that?
enough of that.
All right, buddy, you're up. But I just have one comment. The meeting folder coming Friday, was that better for you?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I was able to keep on top of everything much better.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm just gonna repeat that, you know, we were hit with two big surprises, and I think we need to act immediately to, you know, find a new administrator and a new payroll
Yep.
person. That's my immediate concern. This is, you know, long-term concern. We have an immediate concern, a real problem, so.
The other thing that Catherine did do a lot for the district was she assisted with the audit too. So that's gonna be a
Piece of
a huge loss.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for me.
Okay, and I know the emails, the email from Paul Calvo, are there missing road signs on Oak Ridge?
There have been, yep. But when they were approved to, when the board approved to order them, the ground was too frozen. And I went in to order them, they were on back order. And so, Kelly and I had discussed to just wait until spring, until they can get the pole in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just on hold at this point until the DPW can give me a time frame of when they can get them installed, and I'll go ahead and order them.
It made me wonder, I'm sure there's other damaged or missing road signs. So that's one of those things that usually if we're gonna create the road signs, if we know there's other roads that are missing their signs, we can just order them all at the same time.
Like Big Loop.
You know, like Big Loop.
That's on the list.
Okay.
Big Loop is.
Yeah. So yeah, I just didn't know if there was a list of signs that we
Big
know
Loop,
are missing.
Presidential and Oak Ridge.
Presidential and Oak Ridge?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we can check with the guys and see if there's any others that come to mind that might be missing, so that we get them at the same time. So that was my thing on that. And the email from Jay Buckley, I didn't get a chance to open that this morning.
Yeah, I missed that one. When
It
did
came
that
in
come?
first thing this morning.
Came in, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, he sent it sometime last
Last
evening.
night.
And mostly it's to see, and I don't even know if we can do this at this point.
I don't think we can.
He's talking about reallocating the money from the 1700, what is it, the 7400 truck, and reallocating that money from last year's, it was Article 6 in last year, that raised what, $10,000, and we only used like
9,400.
yeah.
I
So
thought that's a warrant article we have. Did that-
it's not on the article list. It was discussed, but it's not on the list. So I didn't know if that is something, because it's transferring money, it's not raising any new money. But I just didn't know whether or not we could even add it at this point.
How did it not make, what happened, White?
I am not sure. I remember having a discussion about moving that money to the new equipment capital reserve instead of keeping it in the repair. I don't,
There was never a
yeah,
motion made to add it to the warrant articles.
Yeah, not here.
Right, and so like I said, I don't even know if it's possible to add it at this point. That might be a DRA question as to whether or not we can do that.
How much exists in that CR?
We only
effort
spent
now?
like $638.
Right, but they encumbered the money, so that money is still, even though it's in the capital reserve for for highway, it has been allocated per se for this repair. So I like.
Okay, so that
again,
money
this
can only be used on the International 7400, which
That's
we
right.
decided we're not gonna do anything more with.
Right.
Okay.
So it leaves, 9,000 some
This should have been on the warrant.
number of dollars there.
Is this something we just really don't need to worry about until next year because we're gonna need a new truck or something like that? There may be some other things that we can't even anticipate right now, because we've sort of
Well,
projected what needs to be done for the equipment.
the answer is yes, because we're not forecasting buying a new piece of equipment this year. So it's not like that screws up a plan to buy something and it didn't make it into an account that we could use.
Right.
And we don't plan on doing any work on the international. It could just sit in this account just as well as it could sit into the new equipment account.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
So
it's one
that's the
capital
way to
reserve
fix
to
this.
another. It doesn't.
There's no urgency on getting it on this year's warrant, and if it didn't get discussed during the,
Jay was here for the
Budget
budget meeting, and
right,
Yeah, it was never discussed.
yeah, I remember it
In
discussed
my-
somewhere,
is
but
my-
it was not. It was
maybe
nowhere.
I don't understand this completely either, is if it was a warrant article last year, it can be used in the following year, but it has to still follow the original warrant article, correct?
Correct.
So there are going to be repairs on that international in 2024, or the truck isn't going to work, according to Tony and Jeff. So
Right.
I
So we
think,
could just leave it there
I think
Yeah.
leaving
as
it there is completely
encumbered money
acceptable, and if
and the language of the article itself was vague enough that it could be for anything that happens with
Yeah.
the 7400.
yeah,
The discussion was specifically about the dump body,
oh,
and the discussion doesn't matter. That's like talking to a used car salesman who's telling you one thing and the contract he wants you to sign is something else.
Right.
It's what the warrant article says.
Yeah.
And that's when the voters have to say, I'm hearing you say that it's supposed to be A, B, C, but this doesn't say A, B, C. I'm amending this to say A, B, C.
Yeah.
Now I'll vote on it.
yeah.
That's the trick.
Yeah, so I think that having this still is probably in the best interest.
The best interest?
The
Okay.
language is vague enough, yes.
Okay, so in other words, we're basically gonna keep using the 7400 until it just
does.
doesn't roll anymore.
Yeah.
But if it, something simple to fix, but still cost 1,000 or 2,000, we got
You've
monies
got
to
money.
take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's any urgency on this.
A minute.
I have a question. I should have asked it during the administration report.
Sure.
What was your workload on 91A this week? Did you have any?
No, I did not have any this week.
Good.
But I will have one probably in 2 days, when the month ends.
Yes, you will. And we know exactly what it's gonna look for.
Yeah.
And he'll be thrilled. The residents will be thrilled that they can just have it, they can send the email and get the document.
Except not in the format that they want, right?
No, not in the format.
Hey, can't get
Okay.
everything you want.
Next.
Find
And
something.
that's it for your report, Nancy?
The one other thing I had listed out was, and I don't think this is something that we need to spend a lot of time on right now, but it should get looked at. When the prior board signed the agreement with CMA Engineering, was there any type of any annual charge or something that we need to be concerned with?
Can you send us the CMA contract? We'll discuss it next week.
Yeah, because obviously if we have to officially move away from them or
Right.
send them something that says, then, we should
Well, we're not
We should
paying
do that.
any retainer right now, I mean, on an ongoing basis, or...
We should know what that contract says.
Yes,
Right.
I agree.
So I make
Right.
a motion that Caitlin send us a copy of the contract and we put it on the agenda next week to discuss.
Okay, I'm just saying, based on the bills I see...
Second.
I'm gonna guess that the contract said this is what we'll charge per hour when...
Hopefully that's what it says.
Yeah.
Right, right, that's what I recall it saying, but I just want to make sure there's not anything in there that we're missing
We'll
that,
discuss whether we should send them something saying thank you for their
right,
attention last year, and we've decided to.
move away or something, you know?
Any other discussion on that? All in favor of that?
Aye.
3-0.
And that was what I had.
Okay, so that's Commissioner's report at 10:35. We'll go on to public appearances. No public appearances, public comments on non-agenda items. Seeing none, I make a motion that we do a roll call vote to go into non-public session.
Why don't we just, can we adjourn and then go into non-public session when we get back to the office?
Well, especially if that's the reason, or there might be other things.
Yeah, because
You can do a little non-public here and a non-public over there, or just can we do it all over there?
I think you could just adjourn here and then when we.
I think you're supposed to go into non-public session, vote in the public session. Come out of the non-public session and then close the public session. So we're going to adjourn the public session and go into non-public session in the office.
Yeah,
Not adjourn it, we're going to recess
okay.
and relocate into non-public session.
Okay.
So make a motion that we recess the public meeting and go into non-public session at the village office. And that's a roll call vote. You need a second on that?
Second,
How do you vote?
aye.
Aye.
Wood votes aye, and I vote aye. So we're recessing the public meeting, and we're going to non-public session at the office
At 10:35.
at 10:35.